All right. We are live, guys. This is the Difference Makers podcast. My name is Justin Tamani. I will be your host today. Today we have with us Anikha Greer. Annika is a young up-and-coming CrossFit athlete in the sport. You may have seen her recently as she won the fourth event at Wodapalooza. Which event was that now?
I don't know the number, but it was called Celebrate 10. It was Saturday night. That's all I remember.
That was the big one. Yeah, no, that was I can't remember the number either. Okay, Celebrate 10 at Wodapalooza. So you may have seen her smiling face all over the morning chalk up and all over the place at Wodapalooza. But Annika, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
So we were just chatting before we started, and I kind of want to get the background in your CrossFit career here a little bit, because you've been around the sport for a while now, even though you're just getting into your second, I guess, like open season in the open division, not in the teen division.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been doing CrossFit for, and like kind of where did that start for you?
Right. So I was a gymnast growing up. Unlike a lot of the teenagers who went from gymnastics into CrossFit, I wasn't very good at it, but I did do it. So I could walk on my hands. I could do all that stuff. But I got hurt. And long story short, needed something else to kind of put all of my 12-year-old energy into. So when I was 12, I told this story a couple of times, but I think I was watching the movie Spy Kids, and they were like doing Taekwondo or like some mixed martial art, and I was like, oh my god, that looks so cool. So I wanted to try Taekwondo. So we called this like Taekwondo spot, and I went in for like an intro, and it just happened that there was a CrossFit gym at the same spot. It was like in the same building. And so the guy doing my intro, like there was a CrossFit class going on in the background, and I kept like kind of peeking, and he's like, I think you might like it. He's like, do you want to come try the teens class tomorrow morning? And I was like, yeah. Like I had no idea what CrossFit was. It was still so small here. So came in the next morning, tried CrossFit, ditched Taekwondo, and then legit have not stopped since.
And that was 12.
Yeah, I was 12 turning 13, I think. I was going into grade 7, so whatever age that is.
Okay. And how old are you now?
18.
So you've been doing the sport like 6 years already.
Yeah. Technically I say it's 6 years, but it doesn't feel like 6 years. The first like 3 years, I was basically just doing the like teens class after school, like basically as like an after school program, like 3 times a week. We do like shuttle runs and ball slams and ab mat sit-ups and like the very basic, like the CrossFit foundation stuff. So
Yeah.
I didn't really get into like the whole CrossFit scene until I was probably like until my first year as a teenager in the open. So I guess I did kind of 2 years just like after school. And then once I turned 14, I kind of discovered the whole like competing actual CrossFit side.
So you're part of this like new generation that grew up with CrossFit. And I've been talking about this for a while, and I've talked to a few people about this. The next like 4 or 5 years, I think we're going to see this huge swing of people in the sport that, like you, grew up with the sport as opposed to finding it in their late 20s or mid 20s. Like even if you look at somebody like Patrick Vellner, who's been in the sport for a long time, like his first, year of competing or whatever wasn't until he was in his early 20s.
Right.
And you found this sport at such a young age that like you're part of this like next kind of wave of like, oh, this is like the next kind of wave of CrossFit athlete. And this is, athletes dedicated to the sport from a young age.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with it all. But
yeah,
we'll touch on that in a little bit. But let's talk about where you're from. So you're from Prince Edward Island, which is in Canada. It is a tiny little island. And you said there's 3 CrossFit gyms there, but how many, like, what's the population of PEI?
Maybe 150,000
on the whole island. And it's its own province.
Yeah.
So 150,000. So that's like smaller than most like
Cities.
mid-sized city, not even like a big city. It's just
Yeah.
like a like it's, there's towns with 100,000 people in them in Ontario.
Yeah.
And is there anybody else on the island or even close to you that's like remotely competitive or in that you know comparable scene to you?
No, not within an 18 to 20-hour drive. The closest would be the Quebec athletes,
Yeah,
uh, or like Emma Lawson and some of the Ontario athletes, but that's an 18 to 20 plus hour drive from me. So no, not not particularly. It's just me. I joke my training partners
yeah.
on the weekends. That's it. It's my mom, who's very fit.
Oh,
She
okay.
she is very fit. She currently is sitting like top 50 in her age group on 22.1. So
That's
she's
sweet.
pretty fit. She's pretty
Yeah.
cool. But and then my best friend who does CrossFit for fun and who's like she's a soccer player, so she's got great cardio, but like not a competitive CrossFit athlete. So my two training partners are my mom and my best friend. But yeah, so I kind of giggle about that. But no, just me.
That's awesome that you get to train with your mom though.
It is. I am very very grateful for that. Yeah, we have a good relationship.
Does she beat you in anything ever?
No. Actually, okay. She
Okay.
swimming. We do
I'm
joke.
okay.
Yeah, she's like she was a swimmer growing up. That was like her whole life. Won nationals as a master like a million times. She's a way better swimmer than me. But in the gym, nah. Sorry, mom.
Has she now does she throw you under a wing there and teach you swimming or do you go swimming with her?
Yeah, she tries her very best. She tries real hard. We're getting there. I unfortunately did not inherit her swimming genes. She's built like totally opposite of me. She's got long limbs. She's like 5'6". I am 5'2", and I'm built like a fullback, like legit a mini fridge. So I we're not built to swim, but she actually no, she has made my swimming like ridiculously better. I should give myself a little credit. I'm a good swimmer. I manage, I hold my own.
Yeah.
And that is thanks to her, but I still look like a like a what are those things called? The puffer fish? Yeah, those big
Oh yeah,
wide.
yeah.
Yeah. I look like one of those compared to her in the water.
Well, did she help? Was there a lot of prep leading up to Wodapalooza in the swimming?
Yeah, definitely. I did. So I went to Wodapalooza as a teenager one year, which I have not even, I wouldn't even put it on the same realm as going as an individual. So completely different. But the swim event, so I had swam leading up to it, felt fine swimming. But getting in the open water, I had a full blown panic attack. I do not remember the swim from my teenage
Oh,
years. I blacked out and somehow made it back in. Didn't come last somehow, but it was just like the worst experience ever that I was like determined to write over that this past year. So we did work really hard on my swimming. We worked really hard on spotting. The unfortunate part about where I live is that I can't open water swim ever because it's freezing. Like freezing. The oceans are currently ice. So there wasn't a whole lot of open water swim practice going in, but we did swim so much. So yeah, she definitely a big advantage having her swim with me.
that's awesome. And then how did the swim go this year?
Um Much better, much better. Unfortunately, the day before, I pretty severely sprained my ankle on an event. I flipped over the box with the kettlebell
Oh,
step overs, and I just like snapped my ankle. So I couldn't kick, unfortunately, because that move. I swam today actually, and it's still I can do everything on it, but swimming is still one of the most painful things.
just that
Um,
like flexion.
Exactly. Yeah. Because when you kick, your foot's slightly turned like inwards, and that's the basically exactly how it was when I rolled it.
Ooh.
So I basically was pulling the entire swim. So placing wise, not where I would have liked, but mentally how it went and how I felt in the water, millions and millions of light years ahead of where I was a couple years ago. So in that sense, and the row went really well and the run went really well. So in that sense, I was happy with it, but it wasn't kicking too hard.
Oh man, I didn't realize that you'd hurt your ankle on that event because I know Dallin Pepper did as well, and his was
Yes. we have the same, so Dallin and I have the same agent, like Cooper and Lab.
Yeah.
So they have like a body work guy, and him and I were keeping him busy with our ankles.
Oh man. Did you end up like having to tape it up or anything, or what did you put anything on it? Yeah.
Yeah, we had, God bless Dr. Lunny, because he taped me up good. It was Dallin's, I do think, was worse than mine. His was on, it was funny, his was on the inside of his ankle and mine was on the outside. So we were just kind of, it's like, we just need to combine ankles. But yeah, it was very taped up. Luckily, honestly, the only thing that really hurt it for the rest of the weekend was the swimming.
Oh, that's good then.
Yeah.
Because I guess, yeah, like with the squatting and that, like as long as you're in an okay position, you'd be all right.
100%.
Then,
As long as it was straight, it was totally fine. It was as soon as I had to jump or just move it from this plane. So I was very happy when they took the shuttle runs out of that event.
oh yeah,
The Dale
so,
Dale, yeah. When they replaced that with burpees, I was very happy because I was nervous about turning on it.
yeah, that could have been bad. Especially like I'm glad that they changed that because it was a little bit wet, but
Yeah. I think
that was
burpees were a really, really good test for that workout anyways. So I
you
think,
had
yeah.
to move on that workout. So for people who don't know the workout, it was sandbag shuttle kind of back and forth with a 200-pound bag for the guys and I believe 150 for the ladies. Some handstand walk back and forth, burpees, and then handstand walk, sandbag, and it was kind of like a little pyramid structure.
Mhm.
And then right in the middle though was like 20 burpees over a line, so you had to keep turning, and it was like full speed 20 burpees between sections of handstand walking and heavy sandbags, and that was like a minute and a half, 2-minute event at the most.
Yeah. I loved that event. It was so fun.
And it was cool how they did the elimination on that one.
Yeah.
They
I
took the
liked that a
field.
lot. That was cool.
Yeah. Um, talking about some of the prep for Wodapalooza, your coach Brett, he's based out of the gym that you train at, right? So
Yeah,
CrossFit.
it's CrossFit 782. Yeah, he coached my very first teens CrossFit class ever. So he has been my coach since I was 12, 13.
So he's been there. He's seen the whole journey.
Yeah, he's watched me grow up. It's funny. I was joking with my mom the other day because a lot of the things I'll say like come from Brett. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I didn't even realize how much of an effect he's had on like who I am as a person until I'll catch myself saying something and I'm like, that's Brett. It's so funny. But no, he's a really big part of my life.
That's cool to see. And it's also even more cool that you've kind of gotten to the point where you have, without straying or going to like another training camp or like one of those I would just say like elite coaching programs. What do you and your coach do to kind of develop your program and to work on the things that you need to work on?
So the nice thing about the relationship Brett and I have is that it's like we joke sometimes. I don't think anyone else can handle me, and I don't think anybody else could ever know me as well as Brett knows me. So he's just from watching me grow up and watching me as an athlete. He knows exactly what kind of workouts are best for me, like what things affect me the best. Like he just kind of has that knowledge just from watching me grow up and work out since I was 13. But we also are very aware that we don't know everything. And he's very, very good at that. So so actually I'm going to Vegas to do quarterfinals with the underdogs.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, so I'm super excited about that because I really got along with them and I love Justin. I think he's fantastic. The athletes there, I really, really got along with. So if that goes well, because we are very also aware, and I kind of learned this at Wodapalooza, that training alone all the time, and like when I say alone, I mean like alone, is not very conducive. It's great to learn how to train. I learned how to train. Like I am really good at training, but it's not very conducive to being a high level competitor. Because there's just some mental things that you miss when you're by yourself all the time. So there's definitely, I think if it goes well in Vegas as well as I think it's going to, then there's definitely a chance that I might end up there a few months at a time. And then Brett and Justin can kind of ideally have like a little hybrid thing going on, because I don't think I'll never leave Brett ever. But we're also, again, very aware that like we don't know everything. So we want input from other people. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, Brett's and I, like, our communication. Every day when I get my workouts, I'm like, why don't we put this in here instead of this? Because then this will affect this. And he's like, I hate you, but okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of relationship we have, like, we're able to, like, I can criticize his programming without him hating me.
That
So
would be tough for some coaches.
yeah, right. So I'm very lucky. That's why I joke. I'm like, I don't think anybody else could handle me because I'm very. We took a couple months off 2 summers ago now, and I just ran because I needed to be a better runner, and I ran like a cross country runner for 3 months, and it sucked, and I didn't do CrossFit, and I legit just ran, and we brought in a running coach, and that got astronomically better. Last year, again, I basically took the entire year off weightlifting and classic CrossFit and gymnastics, and I just did rowing and burpees and pulling off the floor and cardio and running. Like, I just did the same things every day. So him knowing exactly what I need to work on and my willingness to just do my weaknesses is a really good combination.
That's got to be hard. Like from a mental standpoint, I don't think people your age would just be able to, like, I feel like it'd be difficult to separate those two things and just compartmentalize and do one thing like that.
What's up, guys? Justin here. I'm really sorry to interrupt the show, but we're here to talk about something special. This is to talk about Bionic. Bionic is a first of its kind AI-based motion tracking mobility test that's designed to show you what your body is really doing. We've designed 7 unique tests that show you your range of motion for different joints throughout your entire body and how they work together. Once you're done the test, you'll be given a body map score, which breaks down your entire body and their different range of motion. From there, the WODProof app will also design a mobility program specifically tailored to your needs and the things you want to improve. I can't wait for you guys to try out the test. Go download the WODProof app today, start your free 7-day trial, and try Bionic today. All right, guys, back to the show.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But that's why last year I didn't even expect to do well as an individual, as a competitor. My goal was on this year because I was taking basically the whole year off of CrossFit, and I was just doing E15 moms of cardio and barbell cycling at no heavier than 65 pounds. Like, I didn't clean a bar heavier than 95 for probably 5 months. So it was really hard, but it was very worth it. And I think because I trust him so much and because we have that relationship, it was easier for me because I trust him so much, right? So
Yeah.
I knew I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't worth it. And I don't know if I could have trusted that from anyone else, right? So it worked out.
That's really cool to see. I don't think a lot of people can, and even having, athletes I work with and different things like that, a lot of people get super nervous when you take them away from the sport, like the competitive side of the sport, for that length of time.
Yeah. And I think for me, I didn't come into, like, a lot of people come in kind of as like this blank slate where they're very even and they have to bring everything up. For me, it was like this. I was insanely naturally strong. I basically came out of the womb with a 325-pound back squat. Like, I hit that when I was 15 and I'd never even done a squat cycle. That's what I mean. It was stupid. It was like, what 15-year-old needs to squat 325? Like, but no. I couldn't run 400 meters without having to stop and like suck wind. And like, I wish I was exaggerating, but my cardio and my fitness was like non-existent. And then I had these random super high strengths that were just kind of useless because I didn't have the fitness to use them. So kind of recognizing that I was a very unusual athlete coming in because we legit had to push all of those things I liked and that I was good at completely out the window for like over a year.
A 315 squat or 325 squat at 15 years old is mind-blowing.
It was so funny.
Like, I think that, like, I owned a CrossFit gym and I had guys that were training there, boys that were training there, and these two brothers that we had, like, they were getting into their 20s and they had just hit 315, and they'd been training since they were about the same age as you, grade 7. Mm-hmm. And like, they were solid. Like, they're two of the best movers I've ever seen. Like, best looking snatch technique, best looking clean and jerk technique, but just didn't have that leg strength. And like, now I'm just thinking back and being like, That's a crazy number to hit.
It was just one of those things. So that was the year, my first year doing teens. I missed the games by 1 point. So I came 21st and they took 20. Yeah, that was a career defining kind of year.
And that was then, the younger of the two age groups?
Yeah, that was the 14, 15. I only got 1 year in that division just because of my birthday. My birthday's in June. So a lot of teens get 4 years in teens. I only got 3.
Got it.
Which I'm kind of grateful for because I was over teens by the end of it. My second year, I was the baby in the 16, 17. I was 15, like turning 16. And they cut it from 20 to 10 going to the games. I like semi tore my UCL snatching. It wasn't as bad as like Brooks kind of like dislocating injury, but it was like, I felt it pop and I was kind of like, that ain't right. So I didn't need surgery, luckily, but it did take 5 months to heal. That's the only injury I've ever had with CrossFit, knock on wood. So that kind of put me out for the 2019 season. I ended up coming 14th, I think, or 13th, and they took 10. So again, just a couple spots out. 2020, I came second, and then they canceled the games. And then 2021, I'm an individual, like I'm 6th, and they take 5.
So, okay, we got lots to unpack right there. So let's just rewind to the UCL injury. So for people who don't know, torn UCLs, commonly in baseball players, it happens quite a bit, and that's your ulnar collateral ligament. And that's what when they repair it, that's what's called Tommy John surgery. And Tommy John surgery for a pitcher in baseball is 1 full calendar year of rehab. And, from the day you're on the mound to the day you get back on the mound in a game is 365 days. And it's not really gotten too much faster for rehab. And you had a partially torn UCL from snatching.
Yeah, we think so. I never got it MRI'd. We x-rayed it, and there was no avulsion fracture or anything. So like a little tiny chunk of bone hadn't come off. And my physio is like, we're very, very close. He's one of my coaches, like lifelong friends. They grew up like right next to each other. So that's a really nice circle we have. So I saw him like a couple times a week, every week for like 5 months. It wasn't fully torn. Like he could just kind of tell it was not fully torn. I could still use my arm, but it was just like 5 months of not being able to use it.
Jeez. So I guess that was time for more assault bike and burpees.
Yes. So that's when I hit the 325 squat, because we did, and I swear to God, I squatted twice with a barbell, and I did like the zombie squats because I couldn't even hold a bar in back rack. And I did that maybe a couple times. And then the only reason I maxed out my back squat was because there was a fundraiser at my gym for Special Olympics. And everybody else was doing a clean complex. And I swear to God, for the first workout, I did echo or assault bike intervals instead of the workout. And for the second one, I did a 1RM back squat. It was like, hey, that's the only lift you can do. Let's just see how much you can hit. And I had like 3 plates on, and everybody was just like, what's going on? I was like, I don't know. So I squatted twice and all of a sudden hit 325, and I have not squatted since.
Jeez. That's impressive. But the UCL thing is that's always been like a scary injury to me coming from the baseball world.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're gonna go further here. So then you just missed qualifying as a teen in the younger division, 21st. They took 20. So that was a year where that was like kind of the last normal year, and then every year since then it's been like changes at the CrossFit game structure.
Right.
2019 is the first year they changed the structure of the CrossFit Games, and they went to like the national champions, and they cut the age group divisions down from 20 participants at the games to 10. And do you know where you finished there?
13th or 15th. I don't think it was 14th. So it was either 13th or 15th. Yeah.
Okay, so you're right in the pack there too. So you would have been
just a
there.
Couple seconds here, couple seconds there.
Yeah. And between those 2 seasons, that's got to be enough to just like kick you in the stomach and leave you like wanting more. And then we go to the next year, and you qualify in second in the online qualifier, and it's 2020. So they say, sorry, try again next year.
Yeah, and what's funny, I remember finding out through an Instagram post, and it was like one of those things where I finished the online qualifier and we went right into lockdown. This feels like a lifetime ago, also,
Yes,
even
it
though it was
does.
just 2 years ago. But I don't even feel like the same person. But yeah, we went into lockdown literally on PEI the day after I finished the online qualifier. So I think like deep down, I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen again.
Yeah.
Part of that maybe just from only really knowing disappointment for the past couple of years. I almost didn't really believe it was going to happen, and then didn't. So I think when I saw the Instagram post, it was almost like a lot of people were like, the ones who had gone to the games the past couple of years were just like so angry and so mad, and I was just kind of like, meh. What else is new?
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad I only got the 3 years in teens, because I was so over it by then. I was like, you know what, I'm ready to go play with the big girls. Enough of this teens junk.
Yeah. And then 2021, we get to the Atlas Games, which is the semifinals now. And they take top 5 in all the North American semifinals. And you finish 6th. And so now the 6th place, though, wasn't it something along the lines of 2 through 8 were only separated by like 20 points or something like that?
Yeah, Atlas had the closest point spread of any semifinal by a long shot. Yeah.
And it was another one that was online. And the other thing that happened was it was pretty much all of the Canadians got stuck in that one semifinal. So all the Canadian men, and we had, on the men's side anyways, 11 of the top 20 coming out of the Open were Canadian men.
Yeah.
And then all the Canadian women got stuck together there too. And so
it was a deep field.
It was a very deep field. I would say that's probably the deepest semifinal.
Other than the one that had Tia, that still only had 5. Like mid Atlantic was a little, I don't know if it was deeper, but it was the same. It was close in the sense that Tia got put in it and they still only had 5 spaces going. That was the only one that I saw that was like a little, I hate the word unfair because nothing's fair, but in that kind of realm. But yeah, Atlas was just like we had heavy hitters, and then we just had like every name. You're going down the list and you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah. So what does that do to you mentally? Like, how do you feel coming out of that 6th place? You miss it by a spot, but it's only like a couple of points. It's like, points, not like the positions. It could have been 3 reps on a workout here, 5 seconds less on a workout there. How do you?
It was 4 seconds.
Yeah, I have something similar to that. It was the separator was 14 box jumps. But anyways, go on. So how does that mentally affect you? You know the numbers, like you just said. It's 4 seconds. How does that impact your training? How does that impact your mental state? Do you take time off? Like what's that next little bit like?
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, I think looking back on it, there's a lot of things mentally I can learn from that, because I wasn't surprised when I saw I was 6th, because I started the weekend. It was like every 2 workouts you put scores in. And then, so after the first 2 workouts, I was in 2nd, and I didn't think the first 2 workouts were going to be that good for me. So I was like, oh, heck yeah, like great. Next 2 workouts, I had a workout that I thought was going to go great, go really poorly. And then I dropped to 4th. And then the last 2, I like fought for my life. And I'm like so still proud of those last 2 workouts, because they were the workouts I thought were going to be worst for me out of the whole weekend. Pulling off the floor in burpees used to absolutely just demolish me. Like that combo just killed me. I don't know what it was, but I could not recover on anything during those combos. So it was Gretel. It was the 10 rounds for time, 3 clean and jerks, 3 bar facing burpees. And then there was a row and legless rope climb event. And so when I missed the games by 1 point, it was because of rope climbs. So those have been like they were a mental nemesis for a couple of years, then a physical nemesis. And then I finally feel like now I am good at them and they're a strength. And rowing, again, I'm 5'2" and I had no aerobic capacity coming into CrossFit. Rowing's not been my friend. It is now though. So those 2 workouts there's a really, really sweet video of me and my coach when I finished the rope climb workout. Like I run across the gym and everybody's like screaming. Like it is the best video in the whole world. It is so cute. And so those two workouts, and the same thing after Gretel, like the entire gym, I'm in the middle of the gym doing just like clean and jerks and bar facing burpees. And there's legit a circle, like just screaming. And so those last 2 days, like were so amazing. And I am so proud of those two workouts that it was kind of like, I don't know, I had a gut feeling that I just wasn't going to make it this year because I think mentally I didn't feel like a games athlete yet. And that's my mistake because I'd already counted myself out mentally without, and I shouldn't have, right? So I don't know, when I saw 6 come up, it was just kind of like, I was just kind of numb. Like I was so proud of like, I guess I wasn't proud in the moment. I'm proud now of those two workouts. But when I saw it come up, it wasn't like oh my God, I thought I was going to be 5th. Like, how devastating. It was just kind of like, what else is new, right? That's been my path. That's been my life since I started CrossFit, just missing out. So, and what that taught me though, is that I need to stop expecting bad shit to happen because if I'm already expecting bad things to happen subconsciously, what is that doing to like, there's definitely a subconscious effect on my performance. Right. So although I don't think like it's fine, mentally during the workouts, I felt like I attacked it as best I could, didn't make any mistakes. Like I did my best. There's definitely an aspect of I believe it's a funny little switch. I believed I could go to the games. I've always believed that I am going to make it, that I'm good enough and that I'm capable. But it was almost like not a deserving thing, but there's like a second little aspect. You actually believe that it's going to happen kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the switch I've made since last year is not only do I believe I'm capable, but I actually like am envisioning it happening. And I guess that just comes from many years of missing out by a couple points. It's hard for me to actually like expect it to happen, but I need to start expecting good things to happen. Because if I don't, then I'm constantly, it's just, I don't know what it is, but that's the change I've kind of made since last year.
The power of like that the mindset, right? And how you approach everything and manifesting it even.
Yeah, that's kind of because I'm not a big like manifestor, like that whole thing, but it is kind of similar to that where it's like I have to believe more than I'm just physically capable. I have to legit like see it unfold.
I think that's also a very like wise statement for someone your age. You know, not to just play like the young card, but to be that like self-aware and be able to pinpoint those things. Like that's impressive. So
thank you. I feel old.
You feel old. You know what? This sport will make you feel old.
Yeah.
It takes years away from your life having that much like anxiety around things like the open and stressing for 5 weeks straight or whatever.
Nah, it is funny because I did have like a full competitive career in not gymnastics, but I did show jumping like with horses. And that was my entire life from when I was 3 years old until literally 2 years ago. So it's like I've had a whole competitive career. Like I was quite good at it, like got good really quickly. I've had a whole competitive career before I even started CrossFit. So I feel old sometimes.
Jeez, that's like a whole other like that's a pretty tiring sport as well.
It's a lot. It's your whole life. It's this winter will be the first this year will be the first year since I was 3 years old I won't be riding.
Not at all. You're not even just like
I sold my horse Fergie. She was my like show jumping horse. I sold her in the fall because I wasn't competing anymore, and she was a really, really talented athletic horse, and she's not old. So, and I've had her since I was 11. So we kind of grew up together, but I sold her to a little girl this fall because I did not have time to give her the like attention and that she deserved. And she loves to compete. Like you can tell when they love competing. So I sold her to a little girl in the fall, but now I am horseless for the first time since I was 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such a, I know some people that took care of horses and did, not so much show jumping, but they, what was it? Barrel racing?
Oh yeah. Okay. Western.
Yeah. Western. Yeah. So, and like just the amount of time and dedication that you have to put into that is incredible.
Yeah.
Him. So that changed your mental side. Have you worked with any coaches on the mental side of your game?
Brett, I mean, so when I missed the games by 1 point in 2018, it was because I was legit soft as a marshmallow, had no mental fortitude. I was so soft. I mean, what 14-year-old is, but so
Yeah.
so we after that year is what made me mentally tough. And I'm so, oh my God, I've said this so many times. I am so glad I did not go to the games as a teenager. I am so glad because I do not think I would even be remotely as good as I am now or remotely as capable as I am now if I had. So yeah, after I missed it the first time, we did basically spend the whole year. I think we did like a mental training program and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. Like I remember him giving me homework and I remember being like, Brett, this is so dumb. And he's like, I'm not giving you workouts until you do this. And so then I did like, and again, that's like the relationship we have. And so we did that. And I mean, it's just kind of adversity after adversity. If you want to keep going, you got to get tougher. So it's just it just happened over the years.
Awesome. And so when you said Brett for a second, we actually just had Emily Rolfe's mental coach or mindset coach on. His name is Brett as well. So I was
Oh,
like, you work with
funny.
Brett? I didn't know that.
Oh,
And then
that's hilarious.
his
No, my
episode
Brett.
just came out today.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's why I was like, wait a second, what? But
No.
that's
Hi,
awesome.
Brett.
You're Brett doing that and that is a unique thing. Like I think that we don't see that kind of relationship all that often. So for him to just be like, yeah, I'm going to give you these. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not giving you anything else till you finish this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, at 14 and 15 years old, that's got to be a tough thing to get after.
Yeah, but I mean, it was always my choice. Like when he started giving me workouts other than the class WODs, because so when in 2017, I was too young to sign up for the open, but I still did the workouts just for fun, like with the class. And they decided to keep track of my scores and see where I would end up, like in the teen division. And I
Yeah.
ended up being like 40th as a 13-year-old, and all I did was like the class workouts. And it was after that year that I kind of discovered, like he asked me, he's like, do you like that? Do you like competing? And I was like, yes, like the best thing ever. Like I was so in love because I'm so competitive. He's like, if you want, and if you want to chase this, I'll give you extra work and like I'll give you workouts to do. And I was just like, oh my God, like yes. And I was always asking for more. He never pushed anything on me. So he never forced me to do anything. It was always my decision first. I always put up a little fight. And then he's like, you don't have to. And I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to do it. Like, geez, like that. So there's like, and we still do that now when I'm like, when I'll see my workout and I'm just like, oh, and he's like, do you want to make it easier? I'm like, no, like it's just kind of our relationship and the way I am. But yeah, he's been really good for that. And I think that's why I still love it now. And I still want to do this for like the foreseeable long-term future is because we were so careful with what we did when I was younger and we never pushed me too hard.
That's great to hear. Now, speaking about like for the foreseeable future, are you going to school? Are you doing CrossFit full time? Like what's the lifestyle like right now?
Yeah, so I am actually, I think I'm one of the only teens that's like kind of at this level that's going to university right now. But yeah, I am technically full time. I'm in 3 classes. However, I am full time online. So even like despite COVID, okay, I'm just taking online classes. I tried to go in person for first semester and it wasn't sustainable. I managed through first semester and it was fine, but I was like, this is not sustainable and this isn't what I want to do. But I also don't want to not go and put it off and be 35 and be like, crap, I'm a high school graduate kind of thing. Yeah. So I have no goals for my education per se. There's nothing I want to do with it. I'm just doing it for education's sake. I think it's important. My dad's a university professor and both my parents have PhDs. So like my parents are so smart. So I'm like, I got to do something. But no, I'm an English major and I'm in some philosophy too. So completely different from CrossFit.
Very different.
But yeah.
And are you on the island?
So right now UPEI, like University of Prince Edward Island, it's the only university we have here. They offer some online courses. So I could, and they're like asynchronous. I never have to meet on Zoom, that kind of thing. However, I can't finish a degree that way. So they just don't have enough courses. So I am transferring to a different university after this semester, so before next year, to finish my degree somewhere else. But because my dad's a prof there, my tuition is like basically nothing. So it was kind of like, let's get as much as we can done at UPEI, and then we'll switch to somewhere else.
Nice. And then where are you looking to switch to?
So it's called Athabasca. There's so many American options for online universities, but because I'm Canadian, tuition's like 10 times more expensive, even though it's online. So the only like valid and trustworthy like online Canadian universities is Athabasca. And I think there's a in-person, like, I think there's an actual school in Alberta.
I have
Somewhere.
no idea. I thought they were just
I know
online.
there's one, but it's either in Saskatchewan or Alberta. So nowhere close to here.
They're both the same.
Out there, they're all the same.
Flat. It's flat for the most part, except for a part of Alberta. You get a little mountain there.
Yeah.
Not a little, though. You get Banff. Like, it's nice there.
Those are the Rocky Mountains. They're big.
Yeah. Training after Wodapalooza, I saw you went and spent some time with the Brute crew.
Yeah. Just while I was there. So actually the gym shut down for 2 weeks here. Again, we had our first Omicron outbreak on PEI, and kind of every public health kind of flipped their lid a little bit, scared us because we have a very high elderly population. So we got a little nervous. So PEI shut down for 2 weeks, like entirely. And the gym shut down right after Wodapalooza. So we prolonged our stay in Miami, and I went and trained with, I'm good friends with like James and Dallin and Emma, just all being in teens at the same time kind of thing. So I went down, I met Phil. He's also really cool. And their coach, Matt's awesome. So went down, trained with them for a bit, hung out, stayed in the sun.
That crew there put up some impressive scores on 22.1.
They did indeed. I was mad. They all beat me by a couple reps.
Yeah, but it was all like, they were all like bunched in with each other, like right at the top.
That's what happens when you do it next to each other.
Yeah, they were flying. Like it. I noticed that, and then talking to you, I saw on your Instagram that you were training with all those guys, and I'm like, these guys are all at the same place, training at the same time, and they're putting up the same scores. And I mean, when I say the same scores, it's like
around like
elite scores. But do you feel like there's like a hunger within your age group, within like that crew, yourself? I don't know if you talked to like Emma Lawson or anybody like that. If there's like a hunger because none of you guys are like really proven yet. Emma Carey went to the games last year as a 17-year-old. She would have been kind of the youngest one, or she was like 17, 18, but she was in the youngest age group with her and Mal. Do you see that there's like that hunger training with that crew?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. I like, it's tough because because I train by myself so much, I'm just so focused on like myself. And sometimes I don't really feel a part of that like younger generation crew because all of them went to the games as a teenager. I didn't. So I'm like the only one that's kind of pushing that level that never went to the games as a teen. So I do feel like a little different than them because then there's like Paige Powers, Olivia Sulek, like Mal, Paulina Harrow now. Like there's there is a handful of us now and I say us, and I don't really feel like I'm part of that crew because they all got to go to the games like 3 years, 4 years, and I never did. So I'm not like, that was the first time I ever met Emma Carey in person. So so like, and like James I knew, and same with Dallin, that was the first time I met him in person, but I feel like I've known them for years. But I do feel a little different from them just because I actually never got to go to the games and have that experience. But yeah, of course, everybody's hungry. Everybody wants to make it this year. Every year.
Yeah. I think every year, but it's just like what I was talking about earlier, that new generation that grew up with the sport that we're seeing really, like there's people that are just on the edge of like breaking through that barrier there. So I think it's exciting. I think it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think it's really, I was talking about this with on Coffee Pods and Wads, and I think he was asking if he thinks there's an advantage. And I think it's really good for CrossFit as a sport. when it comes to athletes doing this as like a professional athlete, because I know a lot of like extremely, extremely fit people who found it just like late 20s, and they've already had full careers. Like they're teachers, they're nurses, like they've already have a career. And I think like all of us coming up from a young age and doing it full time, and like I think that's really good for the growth of CrossFit as like a professional sport, because I'm super grateful that I have the opportunity, or that I found it this young, so that I can do this as a professional sport. So I think I remember talking about that with him, that I think it's really good for the sport that we have all these young people coming up and we can really like professionalize the sport.
I think so too. And the other thing that is cool to see, and it's been a kind of needed change if we're looking at the sport side of things, not necessarily just the CrossFit training methodology side of things, is the influx of sponsorship dollars from these companies that are coming into the space. Like, you know, somebody like a Tier or Monster, like these companies weren't involved in the space 3-5 years ago, and now we're seeing that influx of sponsorship money that allows these athletes to be more professional and train full time and elevate the level of the caliber of athlete that we have. Because I think we saw like some high peaks and then a drop off, and now I think that drop off is becoming less and less, and everybody's kind of catching up to the top.
Yeah, I agree.
I was just checking. I threw up on Instagram some questions, and Kyra from Underdogs asked when you're going to be moving to Las Vegas. She
I
said,
love Kyra.
Ask her when she's moving to Vegas and when she's going to be joining us.
Kyra, I leave on the 17th.
So you're heading down there. Are you going to spend an extended period of time, or are you just going to go down for quarters?
No, so I'm going to go down early. I'm going to go exactly 7 days before quarters, and I'll stay for a couple days after. Just because, well, for a couple of reasons. A, Vegas is a little bit different than PEI in March. We are getting blizzards in March. March is our second winter. We have like 3 winters in PEI. Starts in October, then we get a little break, and then we hit December. January is kind of nice, and then February, March is rough. So, and sometimes even into April. So March is our winter. So it is like cold. And Vegas is starting to get hot in March. Plus the elevation change, plus it's a 4-hour time difference. So there's just a lot of things I kind of want to adjust to before I start trying to compete. And although quarters is still not, like, I'm fairly confident in even if I'm dealing with all of these external factors, that I'll make top 120, but I still want to do really well. And I still want to be able to push really hard against those people in Vegas. So I want a good amount of time to kind of to acclimate. So I'm going to go. And I also wanted a couple good solid training days with them to like feel like the training vibe and see how like I like training with them and kind of feel those vibes. So yeah, I'm going to go for, I think it's about 10, 11 days total.
Okay. Awesome. That'll be a good crew to train with. And I feel like that environment will be completely different than what you're used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dry heat of Vegas. I'm curious to see your feedback after the quarterfinals of like how you felt in that and felt while you competed, because that's going to be so different than what you're used to on a regular basis.
Yeah, I hate the cold. Like physically, it makes me nauseous when I step out of the house. However, so the heat I will welcome with open arms. The dry, however, I have asthma. So we're going to be taking a couple spare puffers, but because I quite like the wet heat of Florida was really nice on my lungs, because I liked that. But the dryness will have like a little holster with my puffer. I'll just stick one in my sports bra or something to keep my lungs okay.
Just at the ready all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I'm glad you're going down there. I think that'll be a good change, and even, you know, like looking at training with Brute after Wodapalooza, like I think that'll be a good environment for you to be in, and I think it'll almost like fuel the fire.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's so many reasons to go down. And we really like kind of, plus Cooper, like my agent, is really close with like all of the Underdog crew, but I really kind of connected with a lot of the peeps at Underdogs. And I really like Justin. So, and I'm like, my biggest thing is just like vibes. Like that's all I really care about. Like I'm sure I could find people around here to train with, but if it's not like, if it's not like fueling my kind of internal, if they're not pushing me, they're not making me like want to be better, and I'm not enjoying myself, then I don't care how fit you are. And I just really like the people. So it's just like a crazy added bonus that they're stupid fit.
Yeah. And have you spent time in like a big city like that?
I mean, kind of. So I went to my like Deb, the other agent at Lab, who I'm really tight with. She lives in New York, so I went down there to train a little bit earlier in the year. She lives in Long Island though, so it's a little different. But I mean, like I've traveled a little bit. I've never been to Vegas, but so that will be very different than PEI. But I have like my dad's from the States, my mom's from Ontario. I haven't spent my whole life here, so it won't be like shell shock. But
yeah, I was wondering if that was going to be like a complete 180 in itself.
I grew up here, but I don't feel like an islander. Like there's like this islander community and everybody's from here and everybody's related and everybody does the same. So I grew up here and I love PEI, but I don't feel like an islander. So luckily I don't think it should rattle me too much.
Good. I'm glad. On that, actually speaking of the quarterfinals, are you, I mean, with the open, are you a leaderboarder? Are you somebody who's looking at that, or are you look at it, set it and forget it?
Nah, I am a bit in this. I don't let it affect me though. I feel like I'm pretty good at looking at things like that and not letting it derail me. So yeah, like I like looking at the leaderboard. It fires me up. Honestly, if I do shit like or crappy on a workout, like I like to know why. I like to know who's beating me, and like I do kind of like it, honestly. Yeah, I'm very competitive and I want to win. So like, yeah, that's kind of the whole point of competing. It's doing 100%. Your best, but I also want to win. So yeah, like 21 or 22.1. So this is my best open finish in my entire career. And this is a workout that has some of my historic past. I'm an English major, guys. So my past worst movements. So I'm like super fired up right now for this season. So yeah, definitely I check the leaderboard, I see what's up, and that's what pushes me in the right direction.
Awesome. Good. Well, on that note, good luck with the next two and then the quarters and moving on and all that stuff. I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon. But
yes,
Annika, before we go, Anikha Greer at Instagram or on Instagram at Anikha Greer. Anywhere else, if anybody wants to find you or what you're up to next?
Oh, like, do I have any other platforms?
Yeah,
no,
are you using any other socials?
So bad at Instagram. I don't even know how to use Facebook. I'm glad you found my Instagram. If you would ask me what my handle was, I probably would have said Greer Annika. So it's good that you found it first.
Oh, I did my research there. Awesome. Okay, well, thanks so much and good luck with the next couple of weeks here, and then I'm sure we'll check in with you soon. But thanks for joining us, and good luck.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hit that like button and subscribe down below for more content coming soon from WODProof.